everyone, welcome to the employment space. This channel is designed to bring you a 360-degree view of the employment relationship directly from an employment attorney. And you know what? I really wasn't planning to do another post this week. I've already done one on severance agreements and things of that sort. Check out that last post about the 10 things you should know about a severance agreement and that experience. But I did want to do this impromptu post because I ran across this article and information online and different social media platforms about was talking about that there was allegedly there was a professor at Hunter College, a City University of New York, Hunter College or one of the city universities, one of the CUNYs, and who allegedly engaged in some sort of discriminatory comment while I guess at a meeting or something like that, online class before her students, and that her students overheard the comments and that they were beyond offensive and allegedly racist. And I felt the need to come on and talk about this matter, but also as an employment attorney, I wanted to kind of talk about and shed light on what happens in the employment relationship where an employee is found to have engaged in engaged in some sort of like offensive conduct or offensive communications or making offensive comments, whether they are on the clock, off the clock, whether they meant it, whether they didn't mean it, whether it was a joke, whether it was overheard, any of those situations. Typically what does an employer kind of assess at that time? And it's really about like liability, right? Typically, organizations will consider, what does this mean? What kind of risk, once becoming aware of this type of misconduct, discriminatory and offensive conduct, what kind of risk would this employee create for the organization, especially when it comes to discrimination and retaliation? Well, in this case, it would be discrimination. And I don't really think in my personal experience, what people do behind closed doors in secret is one thing, but once you make comments and you say things or you do certain things that can be considered discriminatory in nature and it becomes public, then at times organizations can be placed in the position to assess the type of risk when it comes to the employee continuing to work for the same organization. In this case, it can be an institution like a school or whatever. But that's what a company typically considers. I mean, do you agree with that? I mean, if an employee, even if they're not on the clock, or maybe they are, and in this case, it'll be a teacher and they're participating in their online class, and something is said by mistake, it was overheard, that was discriminatory in nature, then the organization is faced with having to assess the likelihood that this individual could do something on the clock and intentional that will directly impact the organization and then place the organization on the hook, so to speak, for the discriminatory behavior or misconduct of that employee. And again, if something is done in private, well, it's done in private or said in private, that's one thing. But once it becomes public, and now there is something that people can play over and over and over again, then individuals will say, well, what if it happens to someone else, to another student? Or what if these comments are said again? Or what if it goes from comments to actual mistreatment to a student? And how many of the decisions made by this employee in the past were motivated by some sort of discriminatory animus, So these are the considerations of a company, I would think. These could be the considerations. I can't say that I don't represent Hunter College or any of the CUNY schools. I'm just sharing with you what typically are the considerations of some employers when these types of things happen. So let me know in the comment section what you think. What do you think should happen with this professor? Do you know what I'm talking about? Let me know. And don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and comment, but definitely let me know what you think. Should an employee be held accountable for discriminatory and offensive conduct that they allege to be, something like a mistake, or they didn't mean it? What do you think? Let me know. All right. Have a great night. See you later.